Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the THIEAUDIO Hype 2. I apologize for only now being able to do the review, but only now I was able to purchase it from LINSOUL. I know that it's an IM that's already been out for a little bit, but anyway, better late than never. The Hype 2 got a lot of attention, especially because it was somewhat of a trickle-down version of the lessons and philosophies learned or implemented in the Monarch 3, namely with regards to the implementation of the dynamic drivers. It's got two dynamic drivers mounted in what they call an isobaric configuration and two Sonian BAs doing the rest of the frequency range. As for the isobaric configuration, I would think that it's more along the lines of what Moondrop did in the Blessing 3, which is a quasi-isobaric. So the drivers are firing into a center channel, one driver, another driver driving into a center chamber rather, and that center chamber is then vented out. Okay, in an isobaric configuration, ideally, or the ideal configuration is the drivers are mounted back to the back of one driver is facing the front of the other driver, and then they are completely sealed, and then only the output of the front driver is the one that's actually vented out. That's how it's done usually when you implement that in either home audio or car audio. But anyway, I've explained that whole issue in another review of isobaric loading and so on, so I'm not going to get into that. Either way, be it an isobaric, a true isobaric, or be it a quasi-isobaric, the reality is they have implemented the drivers in that fashion. They are 10mm drivers from what I understand, and the results have been pretty impressive. That's the truth. The results in the resulting bass that they've been able to get is very nice. Well, the truth be told as well, THIEAUDIO does have good engineers. They do know how to tune. I mean, they've been around for quite a while. It's not like it's their first time tuning or attempting to tune an IEM, so I wasn't really surprised that this was gonna come out properly. As I said, 2 plus 2. All right, this is the box. Two colors available. I've got the one which has kind of like the greenish tint on the faceplate. Anyway, the box is simple. Nothing really too crazy. You open it up, and then you open that out. The IM came over there. The box came on the top. The carrying case, which I'll show to you now in a second, and the carrying case basically brings all the accessories. Okay, this is the carrying case, as you can see. Okay, and then inside we've got some tips, some white ones, which I'm actually using the white ones. I tried a few other tips, but the white ones worked perfectly, so I left them. And we've got these other ones here, which are, let me just open it up and show it to you guys, which are these ones, which are foam and silicone. I guess decent enough. And then besides these tips, we get a little cleaning cloth, which I still hasn't taken out of its little bag, and that's that. So the accessories, I guess, I mean, for a $300 IM, they could be a little bit more complete. I mean, the cable is a nice cable. It reminds me a lot of the cables from XINHS and ivipQ. It's the same sort of quality. Okay, this particular one is 3.5. It would have been nice to have seen a modular cable set up, especially like I said, when you consider it's a $300 IM. But it's a good cable, and really I didn't actually swap it because there was no need to it. It is a good cable. As for the IM itself, resin shell. If you actually shine a light onto the shell, you can get a glimpse of what's inside in terms of the BAs and the dynamic drivers and so on. It's well identified what it sees and what it isn't, as you can see there. The shape is very nice. It's got a nice shape with a nice nozzle exit going on the way, exiting out and up, which allows it then to fit into the ear perfectly. No issues with that department. It fits beautifully in my ear, isolates nicely. I was able to get a nice deep fit. Really can't complain. It couldn't be better than this, honestly, at least for me. So and I guess it won't be an issue for the majority of us as well. Anyway, in terms of the hardware side, it's well built. Accessories are good, but it could be better. That's the reality. And yeah, that's in a nutshell basically what it is. I've got here 3 other IEMs. I've got here the XINHS, or rather, sorry, the ivipQ V12, which is a 2 dynamic driver in 6 BAs. This is priced at around $220, so a little bit cheaper than the Hype 2. The dynamic drivers, one is a 6 and one is a 10, sorry, and a 6. So they are basically not, both of them are doing the let's say bass frequencies. They are doing those frequencies but divided between them. Okay, so one is bass and then one will be lower mids. That's that one. The next one obviously had to be the Blessing 3, 2 dynamic drivers plus 4 BAs, priced around $319, so slightly more expensive than the Hype 2. And finally, I've got here the Rose Techniques, the QTX 1 plus 6, sorry, 1 10mm driver and then 6 BAs. Price is $419, but you can get it slightly cheaper. Okay, and you know, we have to keep in mind that it does bring that dongle. If you had to take away the dongle, we were talking about an IM of around $350. Okay, so $350, $360. So they are more or less priced within the same as the Hype 2. This one, the Extreme in the cheapest, that one the Extreme in the most expensive. There were of course other IMs that I could have chosen, but these IMs here, they kind of share a similar style of tuning. That's why I selected them, because it made sense. Anyway, straight into what the sound is, because that's what we want to know. What is the signature of the Hype 2? The Hype 2 has got that tucked bass. Okay, it's tucked. It's basically by 200 hertz, it's flat, and then it carries on flat, and then it starts having its spin again later on, peaks, and you know that it does its business. When I show you the graphs, you'll understand. So very much what happens in the Blessing, very much what happens here in the V12. Not so much what happens there on the QTX, but they all kind of have a very, very equivalent sound. Okay, they all come across more or less the same way. You could consider this a Harman tune, I guess, with a warm bass output. So a Harman tuned IM with a warm bass. I wouldn't consider it a V-shaped in any way. It's a Harman tune, definitely. That in itself already does imply a certain amount of safety, or in terms of the tuning will be liked by a lot of people. As for then breaking down the frequency, first listen, two things jumped out to my ears straight away. The amount of sub-bass extension, absolutely unreal. Sub-bass there is really, really good. Mid-bass, I didn't find it was lacking in anything, but sub-bass extension was tremendous. And then it's the quality of the mids, especially female vocals, come across amazing. That combination, okay, of that sub-bass extension with those female vocals and how that whole area or that part of the frequency then comes across, gives a sense of imaging and soundstage which is pretty impressive, especially the imaging. Very, very impressive. Okay, very impressive. So there's a big sensation of space, of grandeur in the sound of the Hype 2, and I guess that's what has impressed a lot of the people. Okay, because I guess you're not expecting that from a simple 2+2 setup. Transition from the sub bass into the mid bass, as I was saying, is perfect, flawless. Transition into the mids, again flawless. No bloat into the mids, no bloat so the male vocals and female vocals come across beautifully. There's no excessive huskiness, there's no thinness in the voices, nothing. They just come across spot on, equally as good. I really wouldn't say that males are better or female vocals are better. Timbre and tonality and instruments come across as well flawlessly. Nothing that can be said against that, at least in my opinion. And then the treble, it's clean. Or rather the upper mids and treble, it's clean, energetic, and smooth. It's energetic, but energetic in a smooth way. Now, having said that, one thing that you must keep in mind. First, at lower volumes, that bass and that bass energy that it has kind of overpowers a little bit the rest of the spectrum, and you get the feeling that the Hype 2 is maybe a little bit dark. Okay, so I would advise to just turn up the volume, and the moment you turn up the volume just a little bit, the sonians, they just come to life, and the way that the mids and the upper mids and treble just come across is absolutely flawless. And that's why I said they are energetic, because they come alive, but they come alive in a very smooth, relaxed manner. So it's not like they come alive and they become aggressive or anything of the sort. No, they come alive, but they maintain that composure, that class that they have at lower volumes. And that is in itself already a testament of how well tuned it's been done. Technically, like I said, soundstage, imaging, very good. Especially imaging is impressed me quite a bit. Detailed retrieval is good. I still would rank imaging as first, and then detailed retrieval with soundstage. Okay, a close second. Resolution, spot on. Timbre and tonality, spot on as well. So really nothing to be said there. Actually, those four I would say are all second. The one that jumps out is the imaging. The imaging really stands out. Okay. So what can we say? Competently tuned, great technicalities. It's going to be an IM that it's really not going to have any issues with playing a wide genre of music. What you need to pay attention, obviously, to make it shine or to make it come alive and maybe not disappoint you is, give it a little bit more volume. And the thing is, it's been so well tuned that even if you reach levels which usually are not the ones that you're accustomed to, you will find pleasure in it because it plays clean, composed at volume. Very much like what I used to say back in the day when I reviewed the Neon Pro, where I said that the Neon Pro, the Audio Neon Pro, impressed me by the fact that you could turn up it, you could turn up the volume, and that it's an all BA set, and that set just maintained its composure and it played loud, clean, and always in control. And that's very much the same situation here. It plays loud, clean, always in control. Everything is always done with the utmost class. That's the main word here. How does it then fare up against these other IEMs? Well, they all have their strengths and the weaknesses. I'm going to go up against the Blessing 3, which is the obvious one here. It's not so much in the mids, upper mids and treble where the differences lie. Where the difference lies here is obviously in the bass. And I'm assuming that the Blessing 3 Dusk will correct that, or will give it the extra energy that is needed. While here we have a sound that you could say is slightly skewed towards the bass end of things. Over here the sound is, well, significantly skewed towards the mids and the highs. However, when you listen to the Blessing 3, it doesn't sound as thin as what the graph would lead you to believe if you look just at the graph. So the bass is of a very high quality, as good quality as the bass of the Hype. It's just the quantity that is it's rather diminished. Okay, so of course you listen to, let's say for example, you're listening to let me see, a song that has got a nice Up and Up from Jeff Ryan, for example, or Little Fusion G minor from Jacques Lassoire Trio. You listen to that song in one and the other, and straight away you come out thinking, well, the Blessing 3 sounds good, but it sounds thin, while this has got the right amount of energy to convey that song the fullness that it requires. The Killer Moon from Jesse J, again the same thing. It sounds excellent on both of them. Actually, it sounds good on all of these four IEMs, but just with these two it sounds excellent, nothing there, but just this has that extra amount of bass that complements the song nicely. And I don't want you to think that now, oh, the Hype 2 is a bass head IEM. No, it's not a bass head IEM. It's an IEM that has very well done, very tastefully done bass. So obviously if you do play something which is bass heavy, some EDM, like let's say for example Riviera, or let me see another song that I like listening to in terms of the more let's say EDM style, electronic music style. Riviera is one of them that I definitely like too. I was trying to see if I could find here something which is a little bit more well known. But yes, let's say for the sake of argument, Riviera from the Bob Zop remix. It's not only that this can do well. This can do well with loads of, like Swift Away from Carol Duboc. Sounds simply amazing. Twilight from Brian Simpson, amazing. La Belle Dance Sans Regrets, or Sans Remorse, which way you want to say it, from Chris Botti, amazing. House of Groove, it sounds, and it's very competent across at least all of the genres of music that I listen to. There wasn't a single song that I said, okay, no, it's not playing this like I like. Even You from Cecil Norby, it sounds fantastic. It's a song which has very little, it's not a busy song, and it sounds tremendous. It gives the right atmosphere, it gives the right energy to the instruments, it gives the right energy to her voice, and everything just comes across as very mature. So you'll be hard pressed to find an IM at this price or below it that can beat the THIEAUDIO. There will be some that maybe can come close in certain aspects, I would dare say that one of those IEMs, for example, is the Chopin. I didn't compare it here on purpose, but if you guys want, I can do it. I would dare say that's probably one of the few IEMs that can give you hints of what the Hype 2 is about. Anyway, with regards to the Blessing 3, as I was saying, I'm not really going to say that there's a winner or a loser here. What I am going to say is that it's an equally as competent IEM in the mids and highs as the Blessing 3, with the added bass energy that just makes then the sound a little bit more satisfying, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more complete. Okay. Compared to the Rose Techniques, the QTX, when I reviewed it recently, I liked it. I even compared it briefly with its younger brother, and both IEMs are excellent. Both IEMs sound really good, although I was finding that the QTX maybe wasn't giving it its full potential. And honestly, to be fully sincere, I think it was just down to the fact that the QTX just needed to play a little bit more. It just needed to, let's say, burn in. And the reality is this: I've been listening to it and I've been having it just playing for the last couple of days, and when I was getting this review ready today and I was listening to it, I have to say that I can kind of now perceive better the magic that the QTX has. And the QTX, if before I would say that maybe the QT9 was just edging it out, no, the QTX does edge out ever so slightly the QT9. It's not a big difference, but it does edge out the QT9, and it is a better IM than the QT9. Compared then here with the Hype 2, the sub bass of the Hype 2 is superior. I mean, it is what it is. In terms of mid bass, there's more mid bass here, and there's a little bit more impact. Not that it's lacking there. So I would say that this year they've kind of cancel each other out. So more sub bass, more mid bass, less sub bass energy, but they both end up canceling each other out, and they both present themselves really competitively. In terms of the mids, again, there's not really a clear winner. They very much trade blows across a lot of the songs that I listen to. And for example, Deeper from Jeff Belasco, I liked the Deeper better here on the Hype 2. However, Hotel California from by the Eagles, I actually preferred it slightly in the QTX over the Hype 2. Not a huge difference, but I preferred it there. So I would say that the mids are for the most part very equal. Where then there's differences is in the treble. The treble here is better executed than there. It's more extended and it's better executed. It's smoother and it scales better, which was maybe one of the issues that I was initially finding out in the QTX, that it seemed to not scale as well. Okay, no, the treble there is definitely better. Okay. It's more polished. It's got it's just better. Although it's just 2 BAs and here we're talking 6 BAs, the treble here is better. It's got more quality. Technically as well, I would say that the Hype 2 edges out the QTX ever so slightly. Imaging definitely. Soundstage kind of the same. Detail retrieval again to the Hype 2. Resolution again kind of the same. Timbre and tonality very similar. They both have their own particular way of doing things, but overall the Hype 2 does have slightly better technicalities. Coupled to the fact that it's substantially cheaper, okay, the Hype 2 is the one that makes the most sense, let's put it that way. But please keep in mind the QTX is very competent. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the QTX. So Blessing 3 out of the way, sorry, QTX out of the way. This leaves us here with the ivipQ, the V12. And this is perhaps the surprise of the IEMs, because when you look at it graphically, you kind of think, okay, this thing is going to be weird sounding, and you couldn't be further from the truth. The way that the bass has been done is very nice. It's got as well that kind of tuck in the bass. The transition into the mids, it's flawless, and then the whole mids, upper mids and treble are all very smooth, slightly less energetic than the bass, but the bass also is not as strong as what the graph kind of lends you or wants you to believe that it is. So the whole the whole coherence of the V12 is very satisfying, very engaging. Is it better than the Hype? No, it's not better than the Hype. Does it give the Hype a run for its money? Yes, it definitely does. Fair enough. Again, it's a 2 plus 6, so a lot more units than the Hype. But you know, taking it for, if you consider that it's an IM from a brand that is mainly known for its cables and only just recently has entered the IM game. I mean, they've got the V11, which is an 8BA, which is fantastic. They've got the V12, which, you know, I've just told you, it is very competent. Maybe the one that is less competent is the V13, which is a 2 plus 2, same configuration as this, but it's got a tuning which is very reminiscent of the QES Quartet. And then they've also got a single dynamic, which is kind of very similar in its tuning to the Cadenza. Okay, so being a brand that doesn't really necessarily have the experience that THIEAUDIO has in the manufacture of IEMs, this is good. The V12 is very good, and it's very much worth the $220. Would I choose this one over that one? Look, I can't really tell you that you can. Ultimately, in terms of its technical capabilities, the Hype 2 is ever so slightly superior to the V12. Not a monumental difference, but it ever so slightly superior. Imaging is better, sound stage better. Now timbre and tonality and resolution, I would even dare say that the timbre and tonality here is actually better than on the Hype 2 because of the way that balance between the whole frequency range is done. But when you see the graph now in a second, you'll understand what I'm saying. Anyway, the reality is this. Any one of these 4 IMs is very competent. Any one of these 4 IMs is very good, and it does what it's supposed and what it was intended to do very well. Obviously, different price points. You know, probably the 2 closest ones are these 2 here. You know, and these are probably the ones that are easiest to decide. A more bass dominant sound, although that's not the star of the show. The vocals, the mids and the highs are, in my opinion, probably one of the best mids and highs at anything around up to around $500. Definitely that's where it shines. It's in the mids and the highs, but it lacks a little bit of extra bass to give it, to complement it. So you have to decide what you want. Okay. As for the V12 and for the QTX, I think the deciding factor here will be price. This is substantially more expensive. You know, well, substantially, about $80 more expensive. This is $80 cheaper. You know, it's, you know, throw a dime in heads or tails. I would say that, because they are both very good. Yes, they lose certain aspects on the Hype, but it's by no means a bloodbath. It's not like the Hype absolutely just destroys either one of them. No, it doesn't. They are all very, very good. Anyway, guys, I'll show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the THIEAUDIO Hype 2. This is the graph of the Hype 2. As you can see, that really prominent sub-bass focus. It's flat by 200 Hz basically, and then starts its pin again at around 1K, rising very progressively up to about I mean, look, you could say a peak of initially 3.5 and then it plateaus slightly. Let's say a peak between 3.5 and 4, I guess. Otherwise, I would even consider the peak over there. So let's say the highest point is 5, but at 3.5, it's already starting to plateau. Let's put it that way. And then some extension and some extension past 10K. Let's compare it then with the stuff that I selected. The first one is going to be the roast techniques. Here is the roast techniques, and as I mentioned, the mids, for the most part, I actually consider them very equal. I really, the mids are very much the same. It's just a question of energy, really. The upper mids then in the treble, I do find the upper mids in the treble in the Hype were a little bit more polished, a little bit more detailed, definitely. And then you notice more the mid bass on the QTX as opposed to its sub bass, because the balance here is struck in a different manner. So you have more of a slam on the QTX. You've definitely got more rumble on the Hype 2. Okay, so that's that. Compared to the Moondrop over here. By the way, I've normalized the graphs at 500 Hz just for you to see the 500 Hz. Okay, so now compared to the Moondrop, mids, upper mids and treble, I would say, are basically equal. The same sort, everything. It's the difference that you find here in the sub bass, which is monumental. I mean, this should be a little bit higher, which is what's going to happen with the dusk. So one would be more focused for those that are, you know, vocal centric people that like a lot of details and so on and so forth. The other one will be equally very capable in that department, but it has the bass to back it up. Let's put it that way. Okay. So that's the Moondrop and the QTX out of the way, and the final one is the ivipQ, which is this one here, and then we go. Again, that's sort of tucked bass. It's a little bit dips slightly lower here than it actually should, but anyway, it then starts straight away the pin again in a very slow, progressive manner, peaking at around 2.2, 2.3k, and then starts slowly going down again. Curiously enough, and that's the surprising thing, is you would think that there would be a lot of bass overpowering the rest, but everything actually comes across very balanced. If anything, okay, a slight recess in the mids, maybe on occasion you can get the feeling that the male vocals sound a little bit recessed, but in all honesty, I didn't even feel that. I didn't even really notice that. It gives a very balanced out sound, very smooth across the line, with no real areas where there's an emphasis or anything. Technically, yes, the Hype is more capable. There's a little bit more capabilities there, but by no means is the V12 not doing its thing by being able to also give, you know, good detailed retrieval, good soundstage, good imaging. But the Hype, yes, does basically take the imaging and the detailed retrieval. I guess that's for the Hype, while the timbre and tonality and the sound, the timbre and tonality, I would give it to the V12. And the soundstage, basically the same. They both got very good soundstage. There's also a good sensation of space on the V12, a good sense of air. Okay, and that's it, guys. I mean, like I said, solid enough IEM. What has been said about it, I think it confirms. Although you might be led to believe that this is the star of the show straight away from the beginning, no, the star of the show in actual reality is the mids and the highs. They are very well executed, and then it just is lucky enough to be complemented by these very well done bass. That's the truth. Okay, anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions you might have, please feel free to ask me and I'll do my best to answer. All right, you take care now. Bye bye.